Long ago, in a peaceful village nestled between rolling green hills, there lived a kind-hearted boy named Jaya. He was poor, but his heart was rich with compassion. Every day he helped his neighbors, carrying water for the elderly, sharing his food with stray animals, and offering a smile to anyone who was sad. One evening, a wise monk arrived in the village, carrying only a simple wooden bowl. The villagers gathered around, eager to hear his words. Jaya listened closely as the monk spoke about kindness and the joy of giving. The next morning, the monk sat beneath a great banyan tree, meditating in silence. The villagers brought him food as an offering, but Jaya had nothing to give. Saddened, he went home and found a small clay bowl, his only possession. He filled it with fresh water and humbly placed it before the monk. The monk opened his eyes and smiled. "Kindness is not measured by what we give, but by the heart with which we give it," he said. As he touched the bowl, it shimmered and turned into pure gold. "This golden bowl is a reflection of your heart, Jaya, full of kindness and love." From that day on, Jaya continued to help others, but now he also taught them the power of generosity. And so the village flourished, not with gold, but with the treasure of kindness. As Jaya grew older, he passed the golden bowl to a child in need, knowing that kindness, like the golden bowl, should always be shared. And so, under the peaceful moonlight, the village remained a place of love, compassion, and endless giving, just as the Buddha had taught. Long ago, in a peaceful village nestled between rolling green hills, there lived a kind-hearted boy named Jaya. Though his clothes were worn and his home was a simple hut, his heart was rich with compassion. He spent his days helping others, carrying water for the elderly, feeding stray animals, and offering a warm smile to anyone in need. The villagers loved him, for he had a way of making their burdens feel lighter just by being near. One evening, a wise monk arrived in the village, walking slowly with the aid of a wooden staff. His face was serene, his robe simple, and in his hands he carried nothing but a small wooden bowl. The villagers gathered around him, eager to hear his words. With a gentle voice, the monk spoke of kindness, selflessness, and the joy of giving. He told them that true wealth was not measured by gold or silver, but by the goodness within one's heart. Jaya listened intently, his young heart filled with wonder. The next morning, the monk sat beneath the great banyan tree at the center of the village, meditating in perfect stillness. The villagers, eager to offer their respects, brought him fruits, rice, and fresh milk, placing them in his wooden bowl. But Jaya had nothing to give. He searched his home, but all he owned was a small clay bowl from which he drank water. With a heart full of devotion, he carefully filled it with the freshest water he could find and approached the monk. Kneeling before him, Jaya placed the humble offering at his feet. The monk slowly opened his eyes, his gaze filled with warmth. He lifted the clay bowl in his hands, and as he did, something miraculous happened. Before the astonished eyes of the villagers, the simple clay vessel began to glow with a golden light. When the glow faded, the bowl had transformed into pure gold, its surface shining like the morning sun. The monk smiled and spoke, his voice calm yet filled with great wisdom. "Jaya, true generosity comes not from what we possess, but from what we are willing to share, no matter how small. This golden bowl is not a reward, it is a reflection of your heart, which shines with kindness, selflessness, and love. The true value of an offering is not in its worth, but in the purity of the intention behind it. Just as the Buddha taught, the greatest treasure a person can have is a heart full of compassion." The villagers, moved by this divine moment, bowed their heads in reverence. From that day on, Jaya continued to help others, but now he also taught them the power of generosity. He reminded them that even a small act of kindness, given with love, could transform lives. People no longer measured their wealth in coins, but in the warmth of their deeds, and the village became a place of boundless compassion. Years passed, and Jaya grew older, but his spirit remained as pure as ever. One day, he met a hungry child, wandering alone with no home or family. Without hesitation, Jaya handed him the golden bowl, saying, "This is a symbol of kindness, but kindness does not come from gold. It comes from the heart. Share what you have, and you will never be poor." As he watched the child walk away, Jaya knew that the cycle of giving would never end. Just as the Buddha had taught, kindness and selflessness would continue to shine like a golden light, passed from one heart to another, forever illuminating the world. And so, under the vast sky and the gentle glow of the moon, the village thrived, not with wealth, but with the richest treasure of all, love, compassion, and the endless joy of giving. Nestled between emerald hills and a glistening river, the village of Whispering Pines was known for its lush fields, golden sunsets, and the sound of the wind rustling through the tall pine trees. But beyond its beauty, the village harbored a deep division between the wealthy, who lived in grand homes, and the poor, who struggled to make ends meet. In the heart of the village lived Aaron, a kind-hearted young man who worked as a potter. Though he owned little, he had an abundance of kindness. His workshop, a modest hut lined with rows of handmade clay pots, was always open to those in need. Whether it was sharing food, mending broken vessels for free, or offering a listening ear, Arun believed in the power of kindness. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Arun's life took an unexpected turn. An elderly beggar knocked on his door, shivering from the cold. Without hesitation, Arun invited him in, offering him warm food and a blanket. The man's eyes, weary yet wise, sparkled with gratitude. "Kindness echoes beyond what the eye can see," the old man murmured before falling asleep. Arun pondered these words, unaware that this single act of compassion would set forth a chain of events that would change the village forever. The next morning, the beggar was gone, but in his place, a small golden coin lay beside Arun's potter's wheel. Bewildered, he took it to the market, where he learned it was no ordinary coin. It bore an ancient inscription believed to be a mark of great fortune. Rumors of Arun's golden coin spread through the village, reaching the ears of Raghav, the wealthiest merchant in Whispering Pines. Greedy and skeptical, Raghav visited Arun's humble shop, his eyes filled with suspicion. "Where did you get this?" he demanded. Arun explained, but Raghav scoffed. "No beggar leaves behind gold. Either you lie, or you hide more wealth." Despite Arun's protests, Raghav's greed grew. That night, he sent his men to search Arun's home, but they found nothing. Frustrated, Raghav devised a plan to discredit Arun and take the supposed treasure for himself. A week later, a terrible drought struck the village. Crops withered, and the river ran low. Fear spread, and Raghav seized the moment to turn the villagers against Arun. "He hoards wealth while we suffer," he proclaimed in the village square. "If he truly cares for us, let him share his gold." The people, desperate and misled, confronted Arun. Saddened by their mistrust, he replied, "I have no treasure, only what I create with my hands, but I will give all that I can." Arun worked tirelessly, crafting pots, fetching water, and sharing what little he had. Those he helped began to see the truth. Kindness, not gold, was his greatest gift. Yet Raghav's resentment deepened, and he sought the ultimate revenge. One fateful night, Arun's workshop was set ablaze. Flames roared, consuming his life's work. As villagers rushed to help, they found Arun standing amid the destruction, tears glistening in his eyes, not for himself, but for the loss of the gifts he could no longer give. From the crowd, an old voice rose. "He who gives without seeking reward is the richest of all." The beggar had returned, but now he stood tall, his rags replaced with robes of deep blue, his presence commanding. He was not a beggar but a wise sage, traveling the land to test the hearts of men. Turning to the villagers, he declared, "You sought treasure, but failed to see the wealth in front of you. Aaron's kindness is the gold you overlooked." To Raghav, he said, "Greed blinds the soul. Learn before it is too late." Moved by the sage's words, the villagers rallied to rebuild Aaron's workshop. They shared food, labor, and friendship, breaking the walls that once divided them. Even Raghav, ashamed, sought redemption, using his riches to aid the needy. As the first rains fell, life returned to Whispering Pines. Crops flourished, and so did the hearts of its people. And at the center of it all was Aaron, whose kindness had truly echoed beyond what the eye could see. Moral of the story: true wealth lies not in gold, but in the kindness we share. When we give without expecting in return, we create ripples of goodness that transform the world.